actually an anecdote that I found in one of your articles, and it must be in the early 90s. And at that time, you lived in Havana, and you wrote about your 6-year-old daughter who came home and told you what she had learned in school. And it was the definition of love, and she told you, it's a quote, love is what Fidel feels for the people. So, how did you react?
With pride and horror. She was a young, she was, as all Cuban school children are, she was in first grade and was a young pioneer, and every day went to school. And in fact, her school had a banner over the doorway, the entrance, which said, "Death to traitors." And she sang the hymn along with all other children that, you know, they wanted to be like Che, and the Yankees were enemies of the humanity, were enemies of humanity, with no notion that her father was in fact technically a Yankee, you know. Anyway, all of these things I felt were fine. After all, I had grown up in countries where, as a child, I had been obliged to venerate any number of venal dictators, including Chiang Kai-shek in Taiwan. It didn't make me a worse person, or I hope not. But I think that that sort of indoctrination at a very young age is something that can be laundered out with time. I wasn't too concerned about it. I knew that for the most part the people that were teaching my children were well-intended, hardworking, and we were accompanying them at a difficult time. So the indoctrination that came with the schooling was just par for the course. But I remember distinctly the day she came home, having memorized her first phrase or lesson from school. And she said this, and I remember thinking, oh my God. So love definition is what Fidel feels for the people. And I had to say, I had to wear a bit of a mask and show my my paternal pride in a job well done. But I thought inwardly, wow, you know.
Jon Lee, finally, let us know what your current projects are.
I continue to write for The New Yorker. I do several long stories a year for them. At the moment, I'm ruminating about a possible story in Cuba, another one in Sri Lanka, and I also have potential returns to Iraq and Afghanistan for the first time in 2 or 3 years. So I'm not sure, but you know, there are certain tropes and themes and also places and people that I'm interested in. So they're always on my sort of palette of colors, and I'm always usually thinking about them. And it depends on the time. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does. Sometimes I need to accommodate the magazine, you know, editorial interests. So, but generally I propose my pieces, and we come to some agreement. I'm editing a piece now on Guinea. It's somehow the anatomy of a short-lived dictatorship that ended late last year when the man I profiled was shot in the head but has remained alive, who was the head of the junta there. And also the anatomy somehow of a war crime, because he and his bodyguards had carried out a brutal massacre and mass raping in the country's stadium amongst the opposition just a month before. So it's turned out to be a very difficult piece to close because so much has changed, but we're in the midst of that now. And I do have a book project which will involve, let's say, a new look at Fidel. At something like a biography, which I need to get on with pretty fast. But yeah, that'll be my next book, and I'll be hoping to have it done within a couple of years. In a sense, I don't know, when people ask me when I'm done, how long did it take you to write it, I would say probably 20 years. Because in a sense, ever since I began the Che project, I've also been looking at Fidel. So, but I hope to give quite a bit of time to it over the next year, in addition to my New Yorker obligations.
So good luck for that, and thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot, my pleasure.
Who does not know this iconic face? Che Guevara on t-shirts, cups and banners, a man engraved in our minds. Jon Lee's biography, Che Guevara, A Revolutionary Life, is illuminating in many ways. It includes exclusive information, but most of all, it gives us a very human picture of who this mythic figure was and still is today. While talking to Jon Lee Anderson, I was particularly impressed by his sensitive understanding of human beings. And to be honest, I've never met anyone before who is able to remember episodes from the early childhood so clearly. Thanks for watching. I've been Yaena Kwon and you've been watching Warwick TV.